There we go. I think we're live. Let's hit out the tweet. Tweeted. Oh,
Tweeted.
of course I messed up the tweet. Let me delete that tweet and we'll do it again. So Laura, how are you doing while I write this tweet?
I'm good.
What's been up? How's Cisco treating you these days?
Oh, Cisco's great. We had so we're one of those lucky companies where we shut down over Christmas entirely. So, well, winter break, I happen to celebrate Christmas, so to me it's shutting down for Christmas, but for others it's shutting down for winter. So we're off from like the 23rd through the 3rd of January, and it's like by the time you get back you're like, I kind of miss work. So that's how I know I still like my job.
Nice.
So yeah,
that's a good thing to look forward to, being done with Christmas break or winter break.
Like yeah, because it's like there's only so many jobs you can do over winter break, and like I'm not one of those people that gets off work and then just wants to code all night as well. So
it's okay, Laura. I still love you.
What I tend to do, I do end up writing a lot of like talks and workshops and stuff like that at night, but it's a different process. It's a different and I was sort of letting myself take a break from that. And so I was trying to do things around the house, but it involves cooperation from everyone else in the house, and they're all teenagers. So it's like being like, let's go clean your room. And they're like, I have no interest in doing that. And then I'm kind of just like standing in the living room, like one of those like video game characters where I'm not sure what to do. I'm like waiting for input.
Oh, gotcha.
Like, tell me where to go.
The character select screen.
Exactly. Like I need to do something. I just need to I need direction in life. So yeah, it was good to get back to work. And but yeah. Otherwise it's good. We just got a lot of snow. So I'm in Iowa, and we got like 4 inches of very, very heavy snow. So I'm excited to maybe get outside and build a snowman.
Oh, nice. Well, sorry we're taking you away from that right
now. No, that's okay. I'm happy to be here.
I'm here in beautiful Arizona, where it is a very chilly 70 degrees right now.
Are you okay? Do you need a heater?
I got my hoodie. We'll be all right. I'm completely Arizona-fied.
That's good.
Hey, welcome to Max, and welcome to everyone joining. We'll be starting here probably like 5 minutes after. We'll get into doing some live coding here, just going through NX and some stuff about. We'll hit like all the basics, and then we'll start talking about Laura's talk at NXConf last year and how to extend NX specifically for your org. Meanwhile, we'll just wait for folks to kind of file in. Feel free to ask any questions if you got them in chat, and we'll hit them when we get to them. So yeah, we'll go from there. And Laura, I wanted to talk to you about. I've recently changed my my Twitter bio to be Google's worst Angular GDE, because I feel like a major traitor on that front. I kind of got into the GDE group, and then not long after that I jumped in like full on into React. So
it's okay. You know what? I honestly, like when I was writing like Switch Map Wizard and some of the talks for NGConf, I was working on a React app, and it felt really weird to be like, I'm gonna come talk about Angular stuff, but like every day I'm up to my elbows in React Native. And so yeah, I was I get that feeling, but I feel like there's enough crossover. Like, okay, they're not the same at all, but they are the same because
they are the same.
Yeah, it's all JavaScript.
It's essentially the same thing. The differences are well, it's really in methodology, right?
Right. Yeah. Like, because there's change. They both have change detection. Like, they both render stuff you can see on the. It's like there's concepts that are similar. There's concepts that are very different. But I felt like I know when I was working on the React app, I'd often say that like, oh, hey, there's a problem here. But this, if I was on an Angular app, I'd say this is a change detection problem. And so it's like you can kind of apply knowledge from one to the other,
right?
Even if you find yourself kind of hopelessly floundering.
Yeah.
in
I
one
mean,
or the other.
it's all just like DOM manipulation frameworks at the end of the day, right?
Exactly.
So
And it all compiles down to like it all becomes just JavaScript, right? Like so it's like
yeah. Well, and that's one of the things I guess I like about React is the compiling down is less of a thing. Like there's not much of that going on versus Angular. It's like, well, I don't know, something the Angular compile happens and then we spit out liquid gold.
right. Oh
Then we're
gosh.
good.
I just
So
had an old contract. They had lost their repo for an Angular app I had written, so all they had were the
oh
compiled
no.
files, and they're like, "Can we do
The
anything with these?" I'm
the
like,
distributable. Oh,
"Yeah." I'm like, "I
were there
don't
source
think
maps?
so." I'm like, I don't even remember if they had that. It wasn't very like the app wasn't very hard, but it was still like, I don't know what to tell you.
Mhm.
Good luck.
Yeah, that's rough.
Run away.
Rough for sure. Oh, I just got spammed. How do we get rid of these guys? I'll have to figure out the Twitch moderation stuff at some point here.
Yeah.
We need to get rid of that. We need to get some people in chat, promote them to moderators or whatever they do so we can get rid of this guy. If you have actual legit edX questions, be sure to ask us here. We'll get into it. But yeah, I guess we're a little past time here. Laura, what do you say we go in? Here's what I'd like to do if you're
Okay.
up for it, and tell me if you're not.
Okay.
It's totally fine. I'd like to go create a empty NX workspace, and we can kind of go from there. So
That sounds great.
Let me share my screen. Let me kill what I've got going on. Screen coming on. Let's do like this so y'all can see things a little better. And we'll go to open up a terminal and let's clear this out. So I want to just make an empty NX workspace because I don't know what's an app we want to build together today, Laura.
Oh gosh. Well, first of all, is it Angular or is it React or is it something not either? I'm more familiar with Angular, so I've actually never used NX with React. So
let's do that.
Maybe do
that's
React.
really
Yeah.
fun. That's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
fun.
Let's do that.
Max, what's up? Max is one of our guys at NX. So welcome, Max, to the stream. We're also on Twitch. If you want to go find us on Twitch, that's where the other comment came from. So cool. Well, so we're gonna make a brand new workspace. I'll do at latest, and we'll call it Laura Loves React.
I love it.
And we'll give it an empty preset for now because I just want to show some of the stuff as an example. We'll get this going because this is going to end up doing our npm install, and it will take a little bit. We'll go ahead and opt into NX Cloud. It's going to go out and install our dependencies, and we'll go from there.
Very cool.
So one thing, Laura, I was looking over your talk on from NXConf. One thing that you said was NX does a lot.
Yes.
Which is true. It's true in one sense, and in another sense, maybe not as true as you might think.
Right. Yeah. Like it feels like one of those things where it's like a very like you have to know so much about it to just make it work. And I'm learning that like I've learned that's not really true. Like you can make something that's pretty basic, right? Like what you got here.
Yeah, well, what we have here is so there's a couple of different ways that you can have NX go out and run. We still with the empty preset we have here, what that does is create NX with an integrated style as opposed to a package-based style. So we're still in the integrated style, we're just completely empty. And I'll explain that a little bit too, because that may be a little bit confusing. But a package-based style of monorepo, you wouldn't expect it to look any different than any kind of repository you might make. So basically, in a package-based, we're just looking at your package.json. And we're creating tasks in the background. So wrapping any of your scripts in your package.json into an NX script, and we can just run NX that way. Let me make this a little bit bigger so folks can see. And maybe expand this. right there, so I don't cover up the console ever. So like, if we were to add a script here, that's just, we could just call it hello, and then maybe we just have it echo hello world. Thanks, Copilot. We could come in here and we could run npx nx hello, and I guess we still need a project here. If this was a package-based repo, this would have worked.
Oh, because it would have made the project for you.
Right. Right now, we don't have any projects in the workspace yet, which is why that didn't work. But in a package-based repo, that would have worked, and that's all you need to use to get NX up and running for you. And if we look at the nx.json file, if you added one of these nx.json files, I believe you can also add just like an nx piece to your package.json as well.
Okay, instead of a separate file.
Yeah, exactly. In place of this NX file, so it would just be nested inside of there. You could also add that to your cacheable operations, and that way you can just create caching around NX for any task you would run just by adding it to your script there. But we wanted to make a React application. So one of the things we can do is we can run npx nx list. And this will give us all of the plugins that are available to us. We actually need to probably start pruning this down because this is getting to a massive list at the moment.
Are these the same plugins that you can find on the website?
Yes. Okay. So we have like the community plugin registry, which if anyone has a plugin out there that they want to be public that isn't on the registry, let us know, and we'll look to get it in. I believe it's on if you go to nx.dev/community, there's a link to where you can, I think it's create a PR to do it from there. But by running nx list, what nx is going to do at the moment is tell us all of our installed plugins. Actually, the first space is workspace plugins. So that's plugins that we've created inside of this workspace. So we'll get into there. And yeah, as Yuri says, list pruning is in the works because it's so massive right now. Got so much community involvement. We're gonna need to.
Yeah, the narwhal ones are nicely they're nice and concise, and then when you start getting the longer names, it gets a little.
Yeah, well, these ones we also had to add a description in with them because sometimes the name isn't sufficient. The NX ones are sufficient just by the name.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, like Yuri said, we'll do some list pruning here. Make sure we got to do. There's so many of them too that we just can't moderate them all too. So we're not sure which ones are the really good ones and which ones aren't. Aside from maybe like a metric of just downloads.
How many people are using them? Yeah,
there's probably a good correlation there. We got some questions here, or just praise for Laura, well deserved too. So inspired to do a lot of internal generators that wraps the NX ones. That's awesome, Nicholas. We'll probably see that. Hopefully we'll see that later on the stream if we get that far. We'll see. If we get so much love, we may just
we'll just make this like the Zack and Lara appreciation hour.
Yeah. So Danish, welcome. Is there a good plugin for Spring Boot Java? Not that I know of, or MVM Java. I don't think there's much. There's not one that I know of that's, if someone asked me for Java, I'd say, hey, use this one. I feel like there probably is one in the
community. See one there, NX Spring Boot. Where was it? I did see one.
Did I pass it? Let's see.
Yeah. There it is. About 3 up. Oh, 4 up, 5 up. Up. One more.
There it is.
Yeah.
NX plugin to generate. Yeah. So I don't know. I've never used it before, Danish, but
yeah, try it out and let them know if it works, right?
Yeah, that would be good. I think we could do. There's some stuff we could do here to just solve the problem too. Like pruning is part of it, but maybe there's some other stuff we could do to let people know, hey, there's really good stuff here. So yeah, and like Dominique said, welcome, by the way, Dominic. Thanks for stopping by. Love the stuff you're doing, man. I think Dominic was working on something with NX with Vue recently that we had seen on Twitter. So love that work. Would love to get into the Vue stuff more too. And here's a question from Steve Whitman. Can you touch on terminology? Okay, this is a good question. Workspace, project, application, and libs. So I think there's a discrete hierarchy here, Steve, in the way we'll talk about it. The project in particular gets interesting because oftentimes project and repo may be interchangeable for other people, but it's not in our world because repo is the parent for many projects to live in. But yes, at the top of this hierarchy is workspace, interchangeable maybe with repo here. So that is the grandparent of all of these things. Below those, so that you can think of that workspace or that repo being in a monorepo world being a collection of projects. And we'll invoke polymorphism here. For projects, an application is a project, a lib is a project when we talk about NX terminology. So it's just we'll create projects as we go about building up our repo. If it's something that's meant to be served or something that's meant to be built out or distributed, in other words, if other things aren't meant to consume it, if it is the consumer of things that's going to be put out into the web, that would be an application. And a library here, that is a project that's meant to be shared. And meant to be shared both potentially inside of the workspace, but also a lib would by itself also potentially be publishable. So we could publish it out on NPM. In some ways, like a lib would be, you could think of it as like an NPM project that happens to live inside of our repo. And being inside of our repo, we can kind of skip the step of publishing it while still sharing it across inside of the monorepo. If we want to share it outside of the monorepo, that's where we have to publish it. So that's kind of the idea. Let me know if that answers your question, Steve. We need to get like Excalibur in here. So
yeah, like we need some good drawings. Like I'm a visual thinker, so
yeah.
I just always think of like from our like from the Angular perspective, the app that we work on, it's like all the libs are the things that like lazy loaded routes and any of our components that we share across apps, like those things are all their own libraries that can, like you said, get consumed by the applications that we're actually building. So
yeah, exactly. Cool. All right, so we've got maybe popping off the stack back to the original narrative where we've created our workspace. We know we want to do React, and we've run NX list to see all the plugins that we have available to us. And it's
up on the already installed.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. We've already got it. I was thinking we'd have to install it, but we've already got it. So NX React is already in. Let's run, we can do here, NX list, and we'll do at narwhal react. npm NX list narwhal react. There we go. So this is just telling us all about what's going on in the narwhal react plugin. So we have a series of generators here. And we also have some executors and builders. Now, most of the executors and builders we have, let me just run the NX list again. Oops. Would help if I could spell.
It's only because we're watching you type. Like I swear I'm the worst. That's always the worst.
Even worse than people watching me type live is when I'm recording for some
right. And you're on a deadline and you just want to be done. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Awesome, Steve. Great. Let me know if you have any other questions. We'd love to hear them and answer them because that was a great question. But yeah, so we see here we've got the Narwhal React plugin installed. We also happen to have the Narwhal Web project installed. This is where some of the other executors and builders come in, and we also have Narwhal.js. So between all these things, the way NX is working is at the core of it, NX has like the task execution, the built-in cache, so we can cache our commands as long as our source code hasn't changed. We can just replay like a build, for example, instead of having to rerun it. But then on top of that base, we started to plugging in these different plugins, like adding in Narwhal.js, adding in Narwhal React, adding in Narwhal Web. And now we're starting to build up a specific stack here inside of our workspace so we can do some things here. So
this actually starts to feel more like a React app, where React is fairly slim to begin with, and then if you want to do, like, you end up pulling in dependencies to do the specific tasks that you want your app to be able to do. So it's less like Angular, where Angular's like, no, we got your router, we got we got all your stuff, and it's here.
Yeah, well, I think the charitable way of looking at that for Angular is it's a batteries included approach, which is admirable. I like that. And like to their credit, it is possible to replace some of those things and still exist inside of the Angular community. Like from what I can tell, I haven't looked too far into it, but Brandon Roberts has been working on analog.js, which is essentially built around a replacement for the core Angular router, which is very, very cool.
There's some really exciting stuff there. Well, and then now that we have IV2, even if it adds it, it'll tree shake it out if you don't use it. So that's kind of nice.
So Angular maybe could be seen as like batteries included, but you could also still take out pieces and replace them, as long as they're it's harder to do so. Like Brandon's router is maybe the only legitimate one we've seen. That's
right.
Well, in some ways, why would you ever not want to use the standard Angular router too? So maybe there's a consideration there. But
right.
On the other side of the court, in the React world, you have to go through these steps every time, because React isn't a fully batteries included framework itself. It's really a library, DOM manipulation library, and other packages have arisen to kind of create a build your own framework from there. So
yeah, definitely.
I do think like NX is maybe straddling the line between those two things, because if you notice, like one of the things we prioritize with the plugins that we do offer is the base ones that will maybe sort of more towards the Angular approach. We have everything you need to get up and running in terms of, like, if you think of this as a mono repo framework or just a repository framework, not necessarily mono repo, but just we have everything you need for like a nice workspace, a quality workspace. You can also extend on top of that, and we give it good interfaces for that.
So we have our the React plugin already in. What if that was not already installed?
Yeah, so if we didn't have it already installed, we would be able to see, as we can see here, say we wanted something that, like, say we wanted to add Storybook here, for example. We could do here npx nx list at narwhal Storybook. So in the case where we don't have a plugin installed, and the nxlist command is actually going to give us instructions on how to install that plugin.
Nice.
And the idea is, once it's installed, now we have access to the things that it provides. And for the most part, what plugins provide is generators and executors. There's some other APIs that are really interesting, especially for people who are interested in using other languages. Because in addition to task running at the base level, NX also provides like the logic for how to extend the NX graph. Let's maybe do this, Laura. Let's go and generate an app and maybe a lib, so we can see the graph in play a little bit. So I'm going to do Command Shift P and just start typing generate. And I have the NX console plugin installed. So
I love the NX console plugin.
Yeah, me too. So Max, shout out to Max. He's in chat, I think, still. And to Johnny Toronto, other guy working on the plugin stuff. We may be supporting other IDEs at some point in the future as well. We'll see. It's a little teaser. So as soon as I click that, we have this drop down. This shows us all of the generators that we have available to us. And so we know we want like a React app. So I think, interesting. I wonder if we still need to do something in terms of installing the React app. Am I in the right terminal?
You're in the...
As it said when we ran npx nx list, It's definitely said we had React installed, right?
It
But I
did,
don't
yeah.
see
And when
it.
you ran it, when you did the list on the plugin itself, it gave us all the information.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder why that is. I think we may have something tangled in there, so we'll give it a look. But yeah, Max, you got it, bro. And Sebastian, welcome, sir. Hope you enjoy the stream. But yeah, let me just do this. I'm going to run. What do we use for our package commander? We got package lock, so we're using npm. Let's go and install narwhal react, and then once it's installed, I'm going to run npx nxg narwhal react. So this is the name of our plugin, and all of the narwhal ones by convention have this init generator that's meant to be run as soon as you install it. And really what this generator is doing, the big thing is, as we can see, it tells us exactly what it touches. So it created a Babel config JSON, and also updated our package JSON. Oh shoot, I had it opened with some changes.
Oh no.
Let's save.
Oh yeah, because you had added the scripts in there.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. So it touched my package JSON. Oh, and I hadn't touched it yet. So we can't see what exactly changed. I should have run a commit before we run the generator. That's maybe a tip for everyone out there. Before you run a generator, always wise to run a commit, not like I just did. But
yeah, I've run into that myself because I especially like doing the talk and I'm like, and what changed? Oh, I forget.
Yeah,
Everything.
the Git tools are definitely a huge bonus to what we can do there. But if we remember what we had here, by running the init, we also brought in any kind of dependencies that the Narwhal React plugin had. So now that we've done that, let's see if I can now run generate. And do we have the app? There we go.
Yay.
Now we have the generator in there. So we'll take a look at that. So there's definitely something weird going on with what happened there. It might just be like the empty preset that has an issue. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I'll take that back to the team and we'll go from there. But yeah, once we've set that, we can run the application generator. And what's a good name for our application? We need something really trendy and buzzworthy, Lara.
Oh gosh.
I'm gonna lean on you for this.
Oh no, but so like I'm mostly what happens in my head is I just think about cats. So
cat NFTs, we got it.
Yes, there we go. I like it.
There we go. And so that's going to be the name of our application. We'll just use CSS. Do we want the React router? What do you think, Laura?
Oh, like
we don't need a multi-page app. This is just
I think we're
NFTs.
okay. Yeah, we'll just do false for now.
Yeah, we'll go with Vite because we like Vite.
It sounds it's French for fast, right? So
yes, I like speed. While we're installing some of these extra dependencies here, I was a little bit flabbergasted by Vite last week. I don't know. Did you see that tweet? I put up a little video. So apparently when you're running Vite, so the dev script of Vite, so this is like the equivalent for Angular folks of like your serve command. This is what Vite gives you, is like the dev command. When you're running that, even if you have type errors, the bundler step will still run and your browser will still refresh. So what this means is if you have type errors inside of your terminal, you're not going to see those as you hit save and like your browser refreshes, which to me was a surprise. Like I'm used to only TSC based kind of TypeScript compiling or watching. And that will have the type check step built in and will fail. So you won't refresh the browser if there's type errors there. It'll like catch you before you make that mistake. Yeah. And so I was completely like flabbergasted by this when I first saw it.
They're going without belts or suspenders there. So
yeah, that's what I felt like. But apparently when I posted about this, everyone was like, yeah, that's how it should be. And I was like, interesting.
Okay.
I have my own theory about this, Laura. My theory is that there's a lot of people out there that started off as like old school JavaScript developers, where there never was a compilation step.
Right.
And where now, like when TypeScript first came out, a lot of people didn't like it.
Oh
And
yeah.
I wonder if that compilation step in between, like writing the code and getting it to where you want it, was part of that. And so if
Yeah.
you're coming from TypeScript world, like I was, and before that, like C world,
Yeah.
where you definitely expect that compilation step to catch you. Yeah, it did feel like it felt better. So
Yeah, yeah. Like I started programming in .NET,
mhm.
but from like I'm an artist as well. Like I have an art background, and so JavaScript really appealed to the artist in me, who's just like, whatever, let's use purple now.
I know
And
artist doesn't seem to jive that much with C# to me for whatever reason.
no,
Like I
no,
think
unless you're
C#
one of those like really like meticulous artists who's like, this is a picture of an apple with a razor blade in it, and it symbolizes my childhood, and you're like, ugh, I don't care. So, yeah, it's definitely JavaScript definitely appeals more to that like wild, like experimental, do whatever you want, just get it to work. So I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see where that would be. That type checking would just be like, man, you're harshing my buzz. Like, quit it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Well, we'll see. I might do a video on this soon. I've been working on something behind the scenes here. But
Yeah.
we've gone and made our app now. I failed to run a git commit right before it, but we can see now
But we talked about
inside.
how it was important to do that.
Let's do it now. That's enough talking about what we should have done, and we're going to do it. So we'll add here git commit. We'll just say added our cat NFT app. There we go.
That works.
There we go. There we go. Now we're all set. Cool. So now that we've added the application, we can actually run, I'll just start typing graph in here, and we can see right now this is all we've got in terms of the project graph. We actually have 2 nodes in here, and that's because when we created the React application, by default, we added a Cypress app to test this as well, which is pretty cool. Maybe we can even show that a little bit too. If we come into the NX console plugin, we can see inside of the cat NFT showcase E2E project. What we have here is our 2 tasks that we can run for that end-to-end project. And so if we hit play on this, we should be able to see Cypress come up and kick itself off. Nice. So this is a really cool thing about we've got it blown up a lot, so the terminal's going to be a little skewed. Oh, and I didn't run it. So by default, I guess we're going to run it in headless mode. Is there a way to? Let me do this. Jump in here, and I guess we can just run it from. I'm just running from the terminal. As much as I like the NX console, sometimes I just like having the terminal.
Yeah, I tend to lean more. I lean towards the terminal as much as I can. I think I got so we use Husky like commit hooks.
Oh yeah,
like pre-push hooks. So
dash no verify.
Yeah, because like if you're don't do that. But you can't use it from the like the built-in VS Code interface there. So I tend to just stay in the terminal.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, so when we ran it the first time, we ran this in headless mode, which doesn't give us like the cool showcasey thing I was hoping to. So what I did here, folks, is I just ran. Let me hide Cypress here for a second. There you go. I just ran NX the end-to-end test with a -- watch, which is what puts Cypress inside of kind of this nice watch mode. So let's open it up, and we can see.
Looks good. It's working.
Working as intended. Well, hey, we've got more things we can fix here. So all right. But the idea is like at least if we put it without the -- watch, we can see now like we have our end-to-end tests are just kind of all set up, so we don't have to do any of the legwork, which is the difficult like drudgery work that no one really likes. That's not really productive. That doesn't give you anything. NX is a great tool for just like don't worry about that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's one thing I really appreciated, honestly, even just at the very beginning. Yeah, we did not.
Yeah,
I
ours.
forgot to sacrifice anything.
I know we did not do a pleasing sacrifice, but it's
Didn't
good.
do any
It's
of the
good because
poses.
yeah,
Yeah.
we've got stuff we can fix now, and it's
Exactly.
all on the
Well,
record.
and I was saying, like, the one thing I really appreciated about NX very early on is that it automatically adds Jest for you. Because,
Yes.
when I first started using Jest, like, I've added it to, like, because, for example, Angular still builds with Karma. And I've added it to several dozen Angular apps, and every single time I have to look to remember everything I have to touch to fix it, and it's like, okay, it's nice to just have it do it for you, because it's one of those things that's like, yes, it's configurable. Yes, you can figure it out, but do you really need to spend your time doing that?
Yeah.
So
I hear you. And I hate to burst your bubble on this one too, Laura, but because we used Vite, we're not using Jest at this project.
That's okay. It's okay.
I think a lot of people, so according to the all-knowing state of JavaScript survey, people like Vitest more than Jest now. So
I honestly haven't used Vite test, so because we're testing it with Jest and Angular, so just haven't had a lot of time to play around with it. But I did know, like, so
it
default
looks the same for the most part.
Oh, okay. Probably
I
just the
haven't worked
different
with it that much
assertions and
either, but
stuff.
it doesn't seem like a big lift if you're used to Jest. So.
Yeah, and I feel like I do remember reading that it was supposed to be a lot faster.
Yes.
Because the name is Vite, and therefore
because its name is Vite. Yes.
It's literally the only reason. Jest is like, haha, just kidding. It's not faster. But also, okay, to the point of it also builds it with Cypress. I did have noticed there are several plugins. I think they're community supported at this point to add Playwright if you wanted. So if you wanted a different alternative for your end-to-end testing.
Yes. So there's that's one of the nice things about like the plugin situation is so we have on YouTube, maybe I can find that link. We had put out on YouTube, I had done a little series here about how to create a plugin yourself. And we use Playwright for this because I am a big Playwright fanboy. So let me see if I can find that.
That's good to know. Yeah, I've been.
Oh, I love Playwright.
I haven't gotten to use, like, we use Cypress. But yeah, Playwright sounds very interesting, and I'm glad there are people out there kind of cutting the paths on that. I think that's what I really appreciate about the NX community, is that there are a lot of people that are sort of on the bleeding edge of what's coming out, and so they're doing this legwork as I'm catching up and be like, hey, maybe I'd like to try this.
Yes. Yes. And as Nicholas points out, back in the day, the first reason I went with NX was for the Jest support. And yeah, that's a perfectly valid reason. And like beyond just like it supports X, it's also like, and this is one of the reasons why I said like it's becoming less of a mono repo tool and more of a repo tool, because really, and like mono repo is just like a stand in there, but like this gives you, if you wanted to set up a Node app, for example, you could use our Node plugin, and hey, you've got Jest set up, or some testing framework. I actually don't know off the top of my head. I believe it's Jest, but we got Jest set up. You got TypeScript all set up and configured. You got all these tools that if you wanted to set it up yourself, I guess you could go and follow their getting started guide. But for the most part, what we've done in these plugins is taken those getting started guides and automate them inside of the generators that we have. So you can just get that set up.
And y'all test them for us. So
yeah,
hey,
we do all the testing and stuff for you. Apparently we need to do a little bit better on the Cypress one there, but we'll get it figured out. For all I know, that may not be our issue too. Like the other pieces, because we're like the middleman between a lot of these projects. Sometimes it's us, but sometimes it's like, well, it's actually a problem with the original project that we imported. So I don't know, we'll have to investigate that more, and that doesn't make for good live stream material. But yeah, Sebastian, awesome. NX Kit Playwright present. Yep, we saw that, I think in one of the in the list there. So thanks for doing the work there, and getting that Playwright support in there. And Jeff Cross,
cold in Arizona, Jeff. There's no way he's taking that off.
It's like Jeff just lives upstate a little bit. He's in the fancy part of town. I'm down in Santan Valley where it's just desert. So I don't know what temperature it is over there, Jeff, but it's cold here. I need the hoodie. Yeah. Exactly. Words from Jeff.
I know. I'm like, and Jeff's over there fanning you, so of course you need your hoodie on.
He watches over me. That's what we
Aww.
say. There we go. So, okay. So we've seen the app generation here. Let's go and run. So let's say, what's a common module we're going to need inside of our cat NFTs? I guess one would be like, we could say, here's the showcase. Like if we think of it as like a bunch of tiles, like a showcase could be like a tile. We could, it might make sense to make that into a lib. So let's go do that. So,
I find that like deciding where to put things in libs is probably one of the hardest parts of my job.
Yeah.
It's just
there's
a
whole thing. There's a whole that's a whole like consideration. And it's like a sliding scale of how granular you want to be, and there's benefits to both sides.
Yeah, because you could put literally every component in its own library, but then it's like, oh.
Yeah. Warm employees are productive employees. Yes, exactly. That's why Jeff pays me the big bucks, so I can keep my house warm. But I still say I pocket the money and put on a hoodie. It's a scam I'm running. I'm like, it's still cold, Jeff. Need more money.
Exactly.
Need more heater, buddy. Let's see. Steve has another question. His last one was great. So let's take a look at this. I've seen feature UI, data access, and utility folders for lib use at least a couple different levels in folder structures. How strongly do you recommend following the structure shown in the docs? Yes. So we actually had a book that recommended the structure that Steve's referring to that we came out with. I think that was right when I joined, which is like, is that 4 years ago now? I think that's 4 years ago now.
Time means nothing anymore. It's just a social construct anyway. So
I know. So in that book, we kind of recommended when you split up things into libraries, it should follow, each lib should kind of go into one of these 4 categories, which I think that's totally a valid way of going about things. Personally, I have gravitated more so that the methodology I take is if I can identify a vertical in my app, so like a feature, I tend to make that a lib.
Yes.
If I think of my methodology, that's the way I start. It's like, is this a vertical? Yes. Okay, let's make it a lib. And then it's from there, after I have the vertical set up, I have gone more towards is this something, is this a piece of code that should be shareable between verticals?
Yeah.
And is it isolated from other things? If that is the case, I tend to make a new lib expressly for the purpose of sharing between those verticals. And that would be called something like, I don't know, for cat NFTs, this would be like, I don't know NFTs well enough to say, but like something like,
I know cats, though.
Yeah. Let's talk about cats. Let's say cat description utils. I don't know. Maybe we have some lib that like analyzes the image and gives you a string, and that we actually need to share that between verticals for some reason. But
maybe we have another cat app.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe you have another cat app you want to share that with, and that could be a reason for wanting to share those across verticals or even across other monorepos. Especially so this is harder with Angular because you need to get the ng packager involved, but React, this is actually very simple. If we go into, let's go into the NX console here. If we go to generate, and we'll just make a lib, we want to make sure we do a React library. Going through the NX console this way is going to give us this nice form that shows us all of the options we have available. And if we notice, we have a buildable option here, which is going to add a build target so that we can just build this one library, which is very easy in React for obvious reasons. And we also have, I believe, a publishable button here, which we can click as well. So because it's buildable, we can also publish it out to NPM. I believe this is going to add like a publish, or I don't know if this adds the publish target or not. So in addition to building, we can also publish, and that could push it up to NPM. But it will at least add the package.json, which we'll need if we do want to publish it. to npm. So yeah, we can easily make this lib shareable outside of the monorepo this way.
So when you're using the generators though, only like in this example, the only thing you'd actually have to provide would be the name because it's starred.
Yes. What was the name of our? We said.
This was the showcase.
Yes, cat showcase. Let's just call it showcase because cat is implied because of the name of our workspace itself.
I like showcase.
Let's see. Oh, and it's asking questions here. I thought we had the no interactive here.
Oh yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, but we'll use vtest.
So it's giving you some little help. Oh
yeah, this is interesting.
Giving you more help than you want.
Yeah, so we'll hit run. Another thing we can do that's nice here is if we want to like escape the NX console, we can jump in here. We can get rid of like the no interactive, some of these other ones we probably don't want, but you can go ahead and do that. Vtest, there we go. Cool.
And showing you what you're getting. Yeah, I really like the I do like the preview feature. Just to like, especially, you know, when you're at work and you're like, I'm gonna add a new library, and you want to make sure it's going in the right place because inevitably you've nested it wrong, or so it's nice to see where it's gonna go. And
yeah, this is a really helpful tool, just being able to preview these things. In some ways, it would be really nice to like see what's inside of them as well, especially for when it's updating. But just having this as a heads up view is pretty nice itself.
Definitely.
So we can see now that we ran it, all of our stuff is in green because we actually committed like we were supposed to this time.
We did it.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see like the different changes it makes, because like generators really at the end of the day, they are reading, writing, or deleting files for you, right?
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of cat showcases,
I brought my cat. She's been desperately pawing at the door because, you know, this is important cat work that's going on in here.
Well, it's good we have a subject matter expert here.
She's on the product team, so.
Got it. Let's take. We got some comments in here. So Max Class, another NX. I would say focus too hard on the structure from the docs. It's a guideline, and NX works with all kinds of folder structures. Yes, I think that's one thing I like especially is I'd like to see us be maybe a little less orthodox, and this is how you should do things, and being more. You can use this. This is a recommended way, but it's also completely fine to come up with your own methodology. And if it works, like share it and let us know, because it would be a cool thing to talk about.
Yeah, I feel like one of the gotchas on that is just like it felt like for us, one of the biggest hurdles that we had with our application was like circular dependencies. And some of those like just graph bombs, right? Where as long as the whatever structure you set up, you understand the flow of dependencies through your application. So like your app can't be imported by one of your libraries, you know, or one library that has a dependency and another library can't have a dependency back in it, right? Because it messes everything up. Yeah, that's the proper term. It just messes everything up.
Yeah, so, exactly. Well, the NX Graph tool is a decent tool for helping with the circular dependencies. It's just a problem at some other level too, though, just because like when you have the circular dependency, like if A depends on B and B depends on C, like how do you resolve that? So just showing, hey, this is how you could resolve it. Yeah, we get that working. So yeah, we're making see, this is the benefit of doing things live. We're fixing things on the fly. Good job, Max.
Everyone's wearing their hoodies today, staying warm and productive.
We're all productive. We're getting stuff done. We're motivated here. So cool. But yeah, let's I did want to show the graph here just to show let's hide that.
So now we have our new library and nothing is using it yet.
Yes, exactly. And this is because So the NX graph is a reflection of our current code base. So you don't have to do anything at all to like manually configure this graph. You just run our generators, and then we can, let's demonstrate this way. So by default, I think our showcase is going to have something exported from the index.
Mm-hmm.
So we have this like showcase function. So if we were to use that showcase function as a component inside of our application, so instead of like the NX welcome here, we could use the showcase. There we go. So close it.
Nice.
So because I imported the showcase, we can see the import statement right here. You can see this is really nice. Laura loves React. That was the name we created for the workspace at the very beginning. Showcase is the name of our project. If it was nested, it would also be like there would be slashes between to show the nesting, which I think is nice personally.
Yeah.
But as soon as we've made that change, we now have a different graph. And there's nothing we did here. It's just NX is analyzing all of our source code to let us know, hey, this is how our projects interact. So
yeah, I think it's really cool. And then you can run it on like an existing app and be like, oh no, that's a mess.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, sometimes that's not, oh no. Sometimes those things are meant to be more of a mess. And it's just nice to know. We have tools. So right now we're running it inside of VS Code where we have a few less options. I can also, let's open up the terminal again, and we can run NX graph just from the terminal here. And this is actually going to open it up on as like a web server. And so we can see there's a lot more options here if we look at the side. And those options don't really help us all that much right here. But if we wanted to, we could like focus this, and that would trim off any projects that don't have any connections in any way to the projects highlighted. Yeah. And that way we can like still get something useful in a place where there's like 100 nodes on the screen.
Yeah, this is really useful, especially if you do have a larger app and you're trying to figure out like where are my circular dependencies, what like what else uses this. That focus feature is very handy. Like right now it seems silly because there's 3 things there, but once you have 300, it makes a lot more sense. So.
Yeah, and especially if you're someone more visual who like that's helpful. So
definitely.
Cool. So yeah, like that kind of shows some of the core things about NX, since we extended it using the baseline narwhal stuff or NX stuff. And we're shorter on time, but I think we just go for it, Laura. Are you okay with that? Maybe we go over a few minutes. Is that all right with you?
Oh yeah, I'm totally fine.
All right, let's do that. So let's go back to NX list. So let's say, I think this was one of the examples you used, Laura, in your talk, which was when we hit generate here for this lib, depending on who you are, and depending on your familiarity, this may be a very intimidating list to be like, I got to check all these boxes right, or Laura's my manager and she's going to yell at me because I didn't check the skip format button here.
Yeah.
And you would be rude to yell at her, Laura. I'll just say it.
I know, right? Like I sometimes I'm just like a tyrant. I just come in and I'm screaming at people. You didn't skip the formatting file.
You should not do that, Laura. Relevant question here, or maybe just a comment. Oh wait, we've got a whole thread here from Arish. So I didn't know you could visualize the graph in VS Code without running the xgraph command. Yes, this is one of our more recent additions to NX console. So all I did there, Arish, was just Command-Shift-C, and you just start typing graph, and the option will show up in the command palette. So that's a really nice thing. I know there are tags for restricting imports, but for some reason I can never get my head around to doing so. Anyone else? Yes. So tags are a way of, I think if you look at the bottom, we even have a field for tags. So the way this would work, if we were to add some tags here, you could tag a project, and that tagging mechanism, I think it will, for one, it will show up on the graph. If you highlight things and inspect it, it'll tell you what tags are attached to a certain project. And we have our NX lint rule that can help you put further constraints on your graph. So if you wanted to tag one of these as being a presentational library, you could maybe say that a presentational library should never import from a library that is tagged as a data access library. Let's just say we're using that methodology. You could set up that constraint inside of NX using tags and using that tagging mechanism. If you search on our NX docs, you should be able to find it. Just look for like tags, I think, and it should come up.
Yeah, my teammate Ryan Deal did a talk at NXConf this year as well, kind of touching on that, because that's definitely a strategy we've used to help reduce the circular dependencies and just make sure that we've, if it's not, it's everything's going in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly. So. And that's probably a good use case for trying to make your own plugin too, because like we said, all it takes is for me to, like, if we were supposed to call this utils and I did a classic Zack mistake and like called it UI tools.
Yeah, or util, no S. Yeah.
Yeah, or I think most of the time you do like scope equals cats, and then like type equals whatever. Maybe that formats may not be self-evident. So yeah, there's a possibility to mess things up there. And so being able to cut down on just the sheer amount of options here to a small subset that would actually be interesting, like that would be helpful.
So. Yeah, like especially like from the Angular community perspective, the NX plugin has options for standalone components.
Yes.
So if your team is not ready to use those, and like you definitely don't want that to be an option, because somebody, if it can be used, if it's a box that can be clicked or filled out, somebody will click it or fill it out.
Yes.
I also found it really confusing to figure out where the directory path, like that. When I first started using them, I'm like, what do you want?
Yes. Yeah, and just as you ask this stuff too, there's also like follow-up questions that get asked you. These like come down to options at the end of the day as well. But like this may be debilitating to someone at the start. Like, which one is it? And this causes a Slack message, which puts 30 seconds in between you and your stuff. And those are all taxes that begin to add up. So if there's a way of, and like another option here would be, check the docs. Let's write an MD file that tells you how to make all those things. But here's the problem. Maybe that thing doesn't stay in up to date, or maybe like, I don't know, maybe they're not clear sometimes. English can be hard, especially we're engineers. We don't like reading log blurbs about things. So if instead,
and then you spend the rest of your day pinging out that URL to that link, right?
Yeah, exactly. So. Or you get to a PR before like all the work has been done, and now we have to like backfill to fix these problems and stuff like that. So what we're going to do with this plugin we'll make here is just, I think let's just try to wrap the library generator and just like, here's all you need to give us. Let's just say all you need is a name, and we'll take care of everything else for you.
That sounds perfect.
Yeah, and so let's take a look here. Steve Whitman, when using NX generate, I hit Command Enter, Command J, and Command W to run the command, close the terminal, and close the generate tab respectively. I have never. What is Command J and Command W? What?
Command W would be Command close.
I see. What I do is Control and then the button next to the 1. And that will, I believe that will focus between the two, but it will also open and close the two.
Nice.
So interesting. I didn't know about Command J or Command W. I guess I had my own version.
Right.
Some of these things too, if you asked me what they were, I wouldn't be able to tell you. Like in particular, multi-cursor. I can get it the first try, but it's muscle memory.
I always have to look it up. Yeah.
Yeah. 15 minutes of debugging prevents 5 minutes of reading the docs. Yes,
exactly.
But a good generator could save you 5 minutes of reading the docs.
Exactly, and that's what I love about it.
Exactly. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. We'll be good programmers again, and we'll run our commit. So git add and git commit. And this was adding the showcase lib.
Yes.
Question mark. Okay. Cool. We did that. And now we are going to run npx nxg at, let me run the list first. Do we have the NX plugins, or have we not added that yet? Installed.
I don't think we have not added that yet.
All right. So we'll need to add it. So we'll do at narwhal/NX plugin. So this is a plugin to help us make NX plugins. So I'll run npm id at narwhal NX plugin. I'll just hit this in one swath. I actually don't know if the plugin one has an init generator. I don't feel like it does. So we may error out on that one. But
we'll find out.
We'll find out.
And I think I have a lot of these steps in the slides that I made. So
yeah, I was right. Cannot find generator in it. So that just failed, but that's all right. We should probably update the instructions for this one.
Because it tells you to do that.
Yeah, exactly. That's all right. I think we're like Yuri said, we're pruning the list. I wouldn't be surprised if we like adjust the behavior of NX list here too. But all right, so we've done this. Now we can go. Let's go to the NX console again. If we hit plug or generate, we look at plugin. We can see the NX plugin has a generator to create a plugin. So
not even confusing.
Yeah,
we'll just roll with it. Just roll with it.
Just roll with it. Yeah, it's really hard to write the blog articles about this stuff too, because you sound like an interesting person. You run the generator to generate a generator.
Generate the generator with the generator, and your editor is like, are you using the right words here? Yes.
Yes, exactly. I think there's like an empty. We'll just. Is there an empty?
I think option? If you just
minimal, I think that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
So if you run it without the minimal, what's going to happen is it'll spit out a example generator and executor for you, which I don't know if we want. So I'll just click that to skip it. And this will go forward and create all of our stuff. And it's running a new npm install because this is the first time I've run the generator. There must be something that it needs here that it's missing. Ooh, interesting. Did I have a directory named local already?
Apparently, or maybe it ran once already.
Possibly.
It looks like it's there though.
Yeah, it looks like we're here, so that's good. So now that we've run now that we've run the generator to generate our plugin, we're going to run a generator to generate a generator. And we'll just call this one lib. So this is what we want to do if we make a lib.
Should we call it? Is it a I guess it doesn't matter if it's a React lib or not, because we know it's a React app.
Yeah, I think I think this is just a React workspace. So we'll say that. Good. And yeah, well, let's put no units tests for now. We can run that.
Live wildly.
Yes, we don't have time for tests.
That's right. Got to get this cat NFT showcase out now.
This is Web3. We move fast and we take people's money. That's how it works.
It's worth it. It's for cats.
It's for cats. It's at the end of the day, we did good work for the cats.
That's right.
All right. So this generated a generator for us, and there's some cool stuff that we can do here. I'd be interested, actually, Laura. Do you use this? I know we use it a lot for NX. Okay.
Yeah, we do. So we have we use the Angular testing library, and we actually have we use a different selector for our test IDs. And so we set it up we use it for that specifically. And then, so like anytime you just need a specific file, I think we use it to generate our test setup file.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So there's use cases for it for sure.
Right. So the way that this works, folks, is if we look at the way this was generated for us initially, we can see there's this add files function. This is really just a utility that's going to generate files for us. And the generate files is coming from the Narwhal dev kit here. And what that's going to do is take a look at what's going on here. It's going to take everything starting from the dir name. So that's the the directory name of this specific file, and we'll go to the files directory and say, gather up all the files that we can see here inside of files, and then take that from the file system and put it into the virtual tree file system that we have here, this tree. That is how we're going to, like, the way this generator works is it's taken all of the code generation, like logic in the whole code generation script, and simplifying it to this function here, the one that we're exporting. And the way that the code generation is going to work is NX is going to call this function. And it's going to pass in a tree, which, as we mentioned, this is a virtual file system that is essentially a snapshot of what your file system for your workspace looks right now. And then it's going to pass in the options, and the options, when we looked at like the generator tabs, I'll just pick a random generator here. The options are exactly what we filled in right here. And so NX is just saying, here's a snapshot and here's the options. And now all we have to do is call stuff inside of this function. And so what we wanted to do here was we really just wanted to wrap the lib generator that we were already running, the React lib generator. So we don't actually want to use this, the templating system that we had built up. So I can actually delete a lot of this stuff, including normalizing the options here. And we can just remove a lot of that stuff. I can delete this files directory entirely, move it to trash, get it out of here, hit Command-Shift-O, simplify my imports. And there, now we're looking like a good generator.
Right.
Doesn't do much, and ESLint doesn't like it for some
Well,
reason.
it can't fail. It's because
exactly.
It's empty.
And now we can import. I believe it's called. Is it the lib generator? I think it's just called the lib generator. But we can import this directly from @narwhal/react. And let me see what it's named. Sometimes I forget what it's named. Library generator. There we go.
And the cool thing about all this is since it's all open source, you can literally just go look at it in GitHub too, which I found very useful.
Yes.
So you can click into them and you can also actually just go look at it.
Yes, exactly. So clicking through to it. So if I just click on the lib generator here, first of all, I'm just holding Command to open it up. That'll show me like the TypeScript information via like the IntelliSense stuff here for VS Code. But I can also click into it, and clicking into it is going to take me to the DTS file. But we can also just like grep into our node modules all the way down. Plugins. I think it's in source actually, generators, and the library one, and there it is. So this is the built code. So this may be rougher to read. So like Laura said, maybe it's better to just jump into GitHub and look at it there to see what exactly each generator is doing. But it's worthwhile to check these out. But yeah, because we have imported the library generator, and we can see it takes a tree, we call it a host here, and it takes a schema. And we can just call that. So I'm going to call await library generator, pass it the tree, and we'll just skip the options for now. Copilot is doing some work there, but we could see I just hit Control Space to bring up IntelliSense, and this is going to give us all the options on this specific generator, what the schema should look like. So the ones without the question marks, these are the ones we need to add. So let's start there. So we need a linter. Of course, we're going to use ESLint. We could use none, I suppose, but yeah.
Might as well delint, right?
Yes, exactly. Name, that should come from our options. There's a whole step we kind of skipped over here for the sake of time. But by default, this lib generator has its own schema. So this is going to define to TypeScript what those options are going to look like. And the schema.json file, this is going to define to NX what those options should look like. So right now we've added, there's a name property here that's going to come in at argvector index 0. So this would just be like, if we're typing it in, this would just be the first option we add to the CLI. I'm going to get rid of tags and directory here because we don't want those. ESLint is just blowing up all over.
That's the that's the error I keep getting. We were talking about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with it's something something's unhappy, but
Yeah. Well, they'll
and then
figure it out.
they'll figure it
Change
out. And
comes
then
in.
like that's the schema.json, that's actually what the NX console is reading to
Yes.
know what boxes to put in the form that you fill out for the generator.
Yes,
So
exactly. Yep. So this is what NX console reads. Actually, our CLI, if you use like the dash dash help, this is also going to inform that as well.
mhm,
And it also informs like validation. So like you can see there's required. So we'll say if you try to run this command without providing a name, we'll say, hey, that's required. This ain't going to work. And so
right.
we like validation is built in to the framework, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
We're still getting a red on here because we still need one more property
Style.
here. Yes, exactly, the style. So we'll say CSS. But now, once we've done this, we can kind of come back and fill in all of these optional ones,
Mhm.
all these optional properties. So if we wanted to say unit test runner, right? We have here IntelliSense to let us know, hey, these are all the options we could choose. Which do you prefer, Laura? You a Just Girl or Vitesse
I'm
Girl?
familiar with Jest, but that's just it's because I haven't really used Vitest. So
Yeah, and Vitesse sounds fast, so
yeah, it again the
French.
word yeah, French for fast. Yeah. So and really what you're doing here is you're creating a generator that's making these decisions for your team already.
Yes.
So now Lara, the dev running the generator, doesn't have to pick style or unit test runner or
Mhm.
end-to-end test runner because the generator already knows that stuff, and that's fantastic.
Yes, exactly. And to me, this is especially important because rather than having the way of like solidifying your workspace's preferences in a markdown file, which is really mushy, it's
Mhm.
now like it's in code.
Yeah,
So it is like this is a much clearer language to me about what mechanically is happening, what
yeah.
mechanically should happen when you make a new library inside of your
Exactly, and
workspace.
then if you wanna make a site-wide change, then you can put it in here. You can actually write a generator to go through and change all the libraries to be buildable or to be, uh, use a different style ch format or whatever, so
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And so by committing a change into source control, into like this chain of your repository building over time, you're saying, hey, this is when we made the decision. Like who knows like when the decision to switch from Jest to VTest was, if you look at things. Like maybe
right.
there's a big sweeping PR that took them all and like switched them over. But here you can see, hey, when did we switch our recommended policy or our
Mhm.
mandated policy? Now we can see just in code and source control how that happened. And also, like we said before, we just took a manual process in figuring out what all these different things were, and we took it and we made it into a automated process. So
Exactly.
now, rather than having to go through the step of figuring out what boxes to check inside of this generate form, or how to fill out each one of these forms, we now say, just give us a name.
Yeah.
So we went from, as we call, like a whole bunch of checkboxes and text inputs and
Mhm.
all that stuff to give me a name. let's
Exactly, like,
let's
all
go
I
from
care
there.
about is the name. All
Yep.
I care about is the name. Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just a great way and then the only training you have to do is training your teams to use the local plugins.
Yes.
So
Yes, exactly. And there's stuff we've been looking at there too, in terms of like on the NX console side, like having a way of pruning this list even, so that
mm.
by default,
Oh, that'd be
or
nice. Yeah,
yeah.
because sometimes it's confusing to folks, like, when they are like, "I know I need to make a library. It's technically a narwhal, like, an X library. Do I
Mhm.
need the yeah, which generator should I use?" And I there is a way too that you can set it up so that your local plugins come at the top, right?
Mhm.
So that's another option you can set so that even if the list isn't pruned, at least it's a little less confusing to find the plugin that you're looking for. Um,
Yes,
so
exactly.
yeah. Yeah, because then and because otherwise, because people will use the generators, like, it's a relief to people when you say, "Just run this generator," and they're like, "Oh, yeah, that's easy."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
like, it's plugged
exactly.
in, it's ready to go, your unit tests run, like, the app builds, we're good.
Yeah. So that's cool. And then yeah, let's see. I thought
we might have to
we would be able to see our library here, but I'm not seeing it
I
right
think you have to
now.
refresh the VS Code. Like it has
Oh, like
to like
the
pick
run
it up.
the big refresh,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. And I
Was
always
it called
forget.
window?
I can't ever remember. Okay, so this is where I will out myself as being an old lady that loves cats. I often just quit and reopen code.
It
But I
looked
know
like it
there's a
was
command for it.
Command Shift P and reload window. I believe
Yeah,
that's what it
okay.
is. But let's see if that
That's
works. So
the
now,
better option. It did because
hey,
there's our
there it is, right?
generator.
Yeah, Laura loves React Local.
Yep.
If we click on that, we can see already here the command bar. It's saying, well, do you want to give us a name or do you want to just run it? And I think if we run it from here to
It
yeah,
should
there
pop
it
it
is.
up in the
Yep, there it is, condensed down to the name. And dry run it just by changing something in the form. It's going to run it with dry run, so we can like preview all the changes it's going to make. So yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so that's like a very simple version. And then you can start to just pick apart, like, I know in my talk I went into how to add tags. Because you can set up your own custom fields in the schema to be able to add like even a drop down list. So if you know that like we have a mobile app, we have a desktop app for internal users and a desktop app for external users, and which you can scope it that way. You know, like it's really it's honestly it was sort of just life changing at work when we started using the generators, because it took a very onerous sort of overwhelming process of making, like, it's not hard to make a library, but it's hard to make one that works right with the application you're trying to put it in.
Yeah.
Especially if the application has a lot going on. So it really makes it, especially on a large enterprise app, especially if you've got a global team where you've got people on in different time zones, it makes it a lot easier to communicate. This is what we need for this to work. So
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think it's yeah, I think for the larger the organization, the more important the more important these systems become, where
yeah,
it's really nice to have these things codified in something concrete. And
definitely.
yeah, and it's in a lot of ways this is a kindness to say, hey,
Yeah,
don't worry about don't have to read their documentation, don't have to memorize this list of procedures. No, for things like this, automation is the right tool, and that's essentially what this is. We're automating away a step or two to make sure
exactly.
that this is experience becomes nicer. And NX being pluggable, allowing these plugins to come in, we're just giving folks a really nice framework for doing so. And I love the code. Like I think of it as a code gen script API. Like
Yeah,
that's what we built essentially, and it's a really good one
it
in my
is.
opinion.
It's
So
really accessible too, because like, for example, once you make a plugin, then you carry on with the rest of your day and the rest of your sprint or quarter, and you may not make another plugin for a while. Like we pretty much at Cisco, we update ours when we bump versions, right? So if we bump a version of Narwhal or of NX, or we bump a version of Angular, we'll check to verify that the generators are still working as we expect them to, and tweak anything that needs tweaked. And since we're using the NX Angular generator under the hood for our custom one, the changes are already getting reflected there, right? So it's like you're already getting the updated plugin as long as you're staying up to date. So that's another benefit too, is like I don't have to go figure out how to add standalone components because somebody else already did that for me. So
yes, exactly. Yeah, it's a great tool in my opinion. I know we've been plowing ahead to try and make sure we got through everything. Let's go through the comments real quick. Yep. I think that was talking about the lint error, the local file thing. Yep. And then any docs for that schema.json file. What? Brandon is here. Brandon, we were giving you love for analog earlier. Thanks for stopping by, man. Great to see you. Responding to Rars's question here before I saw Brandon. Docs for the schema.json file. Yes, I think so. Customizing generator options here. Let me
yes.
grab that. I'll drop it into the chat. you can take a look at some of the stuff we have available there. I think, if I could recall correctly, there's some interesting stuff you can do there where you can like give the drop down kind of interface where you can say, hey, pick between these two things or X many things. So if you had something in mind that was like for your situation, Lara, if you're like, hey, there's X, Y, or Z kind of libs we could do, it's one of those ones. Or maybe it's like it belongs to our banking, or it belongs to our credit card, or it belongs to our, I don't know, the different LOBs. You can drop in options for these things here.
Yeah, and I think we have it I think it dynamically pulls one of the drop downs from a list that we maintain too, where it's
cool.
Like we have all
this
the
looks
list
like exactly this.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And it felt, when I was looking at it, it's fairly intuitive. Like copy pasta gets you quite a long ways with this.
Yeah. So, part of me wishes, like, we're following a predefined schema way of doing things here, and so we're kind of offshoring this a little bit. It would be cool for us to give something that's maybe a little nicer, maybe like plugged into TypeScript, so you're not building the schema with JSON, like kind of like how Zod does things. I really like the way Zod does this kind of schema work, so maybe we could take something from there. But there's
at
all
least
kinds
you
of
can define your types in the schema, the DTS file. But
and Rars mentions here, well, there's an unfortunate like manual step where you have to maintain the two things yourself. If we go back to the generator here, so there's a schema DTS file. So this is supposed to be a reflection of the schema JSON file that we have here, but there's no automation to say, hey, generate this from this. So that's the main reason why I wanted like a Zod-like interface for the schema definitions,
that makes sense.
to make that easier. Looking through the NX generators are a good way to see a lot of the options. So like we said, I guess if we did something like this, so if we were using just the terminal here too, why did we give this such a long name? Local, and this was lib, and I think if we drop in help here, this is going to, we didn't do a good job in our in our schema JSON file, but this will tell us like all the different options we have here and the stuff here, and like the options here are also in IntelliSense, because this is all TypeScript at the end of the day inside of the generators there. And looking inside the NX console, there's a whole list of different ways to see all the options and figure out what they're doing and the options available. So good call out, Caleb, there. Thanks for that. Well, Lara, we built a very underwhelming cat NFT. It's as much as a scam as I ever hoped it would be.
We did see a cat though.
Yeah, we never figured out how to accept money from people.
Right.
That was the biggest failure of this application.
Absolute failures.
But not bad for an hour and 20 minutes worth of work, I think.
Nice. Yes.
So, Lara, thanks so much for joining us. Maybe we'll get you to come back again so we can go more into generators or something at some point in the future. But
absolutely,
it's great to have you here. Everyone in chat, thanks for coming by. I think we'll probably do another one next Thursday. We're still finalizing that with potentially Nathan Walker. We'll maybe name drop it there. So
now he's committed. Sorry.
There we go. We got our first buy-in.
There we go.
Success. Thanks, Lars, for being a trooper, bro. There we go. All right, we'll wrap this up. Thanks everyone for joining. Have a good Thursday. Hopefully we'll see y'all next week. Bye.